Hello friends, I hope you all are doing well and staying safe at your own place. I, CA Pujan Kapadia, welcome you all on my today's lecture on the subject Banking Paper 6. As I have discussed earlier in the last lecture, today we are going to do the entire revision of the chapter Payment Bank, and lastly we are just going to cover the topic which is left to be done in this particular topic. So if you have missed out any of the part, then this lecture is for you guys. The first thing that I would like to do is I'm just like to brush up what all are the topics that we are going to cover in this particular unit. First is going to be the introduction, like how payment bank evolved, how it came into existence. Second is the meaning, like what is payment bank, what is the objective of payment bank. Third is the features under which I'm going to explain you what are the requirements for the payment bank, what all are the activities that a payment bank can do, and what all are the activities that payment bank cannot do. Next is what are the challenges that are being faced by the payment bank as of now. Next is opportunities, like what are the opportunities available as of now so that payment bank can prosper in the near future. And last is according to us what is going to be the future of the payment bank. So this is in crux what all are the topics that we are going to cover. So without wasting any kind of time, I would like to start with the first one, introduction. First point is payment bank came into existence as the result of recommendation of which committee? Answer is Nachiket More committee. The committee was led by Mr. Nachiket More, under whose guidance and under whose recommendation the payment bank came into existence. So basically when the question comes up, which committee was the one who recommended the formation of payment bank? Answer is Nachiket More committee. Now in this particular time, the committee was formed in the year 2013. Who was the governor at that point of time? Answer is Raghuram Rajan. Mr. Raghuram Rajan was the governor at the time of formation of committee, that is Nachiket More committee. It was in year 2013. What was the major target audience to be covered under this committee research and analysis? Answer is small business and low income households. That is, this lower strata of the society was basic concern at the particular time of research of this particular committee. What was my major objective as a committee? Answer is financial inclusion, which basically means to reach the benefits of financial infrastructure to each and every strata of the society, like the top income earner as well as the one who are at the bottom of the entire pyramid of our society should get the benefit of the financial infrastructure in our country. And what are the basic financial services? It includes banking services, investment services, and insurance services. And the next part is the committee, which was formed in the year 2013, has submitted its report in 2014, which along with other recommendations included the recommendation of formation of payment bank. So in crux, the committee was formed in 2013. They submitted their report in 2014, and RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, gave in principle license to totally 11 entities to launch their payment banks. When? In the year 2015. So you need to remember this thing particularly, that in 2015 RBI has given in principle license to launch payment banks to how many entities? To 11 entities. This is the list of those 11 entities. Not much important from the viewpoint of exams. So I'm skipping this part. Next is the list of active payment banks in India as of now. As of now, there are totally 7 payment banks which are functioning fine in India. So this is the list of active payment banks. I would request you to remember the names of the payment banks so that you can write in the form of example in your answers. Next point is, what is the meaning of payment bank? The first point is, the payment bank is like any other bank, but it is operating on a smaller scale, which wants to say that I am also performing the functions which are being performed by the bank, but at a smaller scale. So basically, the functions of the payment bank are on a smaller scale. The important point is underlined over here. It is without involving any credit risk. Payment bank do not want to involve itself in any kind of credit risk. As a result of which, it cannot advance any loans or it cannot issue credit cards. Why? Because if I am issuing any money on credit, I am going to have the credit risk. What is credit risk basically, friends? It is the risk of non-payment by the person to whom you advanced money. Suppose I am giving loan to Mr. X and I'm having a risk that Mr. X may not repay my money. This is credit risk. So payment bank cannot involve themselves into credit risk, as a result of which they cannot give any amount as loans, nor they can issue any kind of credit cards. Next point is, what are the objectives for setting up a payment bank as per RBI guidelines? The major objective was financial inclusion. That is what I would already explain to you. How they are supposed to do financial inclusion, that is how they are going to extend financial facilities to each and every sector of the society. Answer is by opening small savings accounts and by payment and remittance services to each and every category which is mentioned over here, like labor force, low income households, small business, unorganized sectors, etc. So there are two basic projects under this part of financial inclusion. It was opening of small savings bank accounts, and second was payments and remittance services. So this is the meaning of the payment bank. Let's move ahead to the next topic, features or characteristics of the payment bank. As I had told you friends, I have divided this particular topic into three different parts. First is, what are the requirements that payment bank need to comply with? Second is, what all are the activities that payment bank can do? And third is, what are the activities that payment bank cannot do? Let's look into the first part, that is requirements. If I want to start a payment bank, what is the minimum capital requirement? Answer is 100 crores. So for a payment bank to come into existence, the minimum capital requirement is of 100 crores. Second is, what is the minimum net worth to get listed? That is, I had opened payment bank, but now I want to get my payment bank listed on the stock exchange. So the criteria for the same is 500 crores. So to set up a payment bank, it is 100 crores, but to get it listed, it is 500 crores. Next is the proportion of Indian investment versus foreign direct investment, that is FDI. In payment bank, there should be minimum Indian investment up to 26%. That is, maximum foreign direct investment is permissible only up to 74%, which is actually in a banking sector as of now. The maximum, how much money can you accept from the foreign investors? Up to 74% of your total investment. So it is necessary that at least 26% should be coming from the Indian investors. Next is, if you are setting up a payment bank, your 25% of the total branches should be in unbanked areas, which means those areas where there is no banking infrastructure, where there is no banking facilities. So suppose if I'm planning to set up 100 branches all over the country, at least 25 branches should be there in the unbanked areas. Next is maintenance of deposits. That is, whatsoever I am earning or I am accepting as a deposits from the public, where I am required to invest that particular part. So the proportion is being given for that particular thing. 75% is required to be investment in the government bonds or in the government securities. And remaining 25% you can invest in any of the banks, which may be scheduled bank or any other banks. In short, the ratio is being determined 75% in government bonds and 25% with other banks. What is this? This is the investment of the deposits that you have already accepted from the customers. Next point is promoter's stake for the first 5 years. This point is basically trying to tell us, whenever I am starting with the payment bank, in the first 5 years of my incorporation, the promoters, that is the persons who have started with this particular business, should have their stake, should have minimum at least 40% of the holding. So out of the total capital of 100%, minimum 40% should be in the name of promoters, at least for the first 5 years. So up to 5 years, minimum shareholding of promoters is required to be 40%. So this was the first slide of the criteria. I hope I'm clear with the requirements. Let's move to the second one. Maximum voting right per shareholder. That is, a individual shareholder can maximum vote up to 10%. He cannot have voting right of more than 10%. But if RBI feels free and if he feels no, it is correct, then he can increase this voting power from 10% up to 26%. So he has the power to increase the voting power. Answer is RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India. So generally it is 10%, but RBI can increase it up to 26%. Now, if I want to acquire shares, which is totally more than 5% of the total share capital, it is compulsory that I need to take approval from RBI. So RBI's approval for share acquisition is necessary if the total acquisition that you are acquiring or buying is more than 5%. Next point is you must use the term at the end payments bank. That is whatsoever name you want to keep, you can keep, but at the end you should be having two words which read as payments bank. So every name of the payment bank should end with the two words payments bank. For example, Paytm Payments Bank. The last requirement is leverage, that is capital adequacy ratio. Your leverage ratio should not be less than 3%, which means your external liabilities, that is outside borrowing, should not exceed 33.33 times of its total net worth. What is net worth? Capital and reserves. So maximum you can have outside liabilities up to 33.33 times of your net worth. उससे ज़्यादा आप नहीं रख सकते. So leverage ratio is determined. Now, this is just for your information that you can write also in your examination. Payment bank is licensed. जो license मिलता है, it is being licensed under section 22 of Banking Regulation Act 1949. So if the question comes up, under which act payment bank is licensed, given the license to do the business, answer is section 22 of Banking Regulation Act 1949. Second is under which act it is registered. So it is registered as a public limited company under Companies Act 2013. So these are two different things. One is getting a license to do the business, and second is registration, that is your identity. So licensing is being done under Banking Regulation Act 1949 and registration is being done under Companies Act 2013. I hope I'm clear with these two slides. I'm just giving you 30 seconds for a slide. Just take a look at the requirements that I have written over here. Take a look at this slide also. Well, I hope you are clear with these requirements. Fine. So let's look. What are the activities that a payment bank can do? So it can accept the deposits, but only in the form of CASA, that is current account and savings account. CASA. It means you can accept deposits, but it can be either as a current account deposit or a savings account deposit. Second is, what is the maximum amount of deposit you can accept for one account? Answer is rupees 1 lakh. So maximum you can have the deposit up to 1 lakh rupees. You can issue debit cards. You can offer any phone banking or internet banking facilities. You can offer forex services. You can have ATMs. Fine. This all are the permissible banking activities that you can do as a payment bank. You can even provide a platform for cross-selling. As I have told you, what is cross-selling? You are displaying products of some other seller. For example, I am offering FDs of some another bank, so that they can display that product, that is their fixed deposit, and they can sell it on my platform as a payment bank. So what I'm doing is I'm providing a platform for cross-selling. Second is I'm providing a gateway for online payments. Like we are doing payments of, for example, electricity bill, gas bills, telephone bills, recharge of telephones. Fine. We are all doing this payments by using the payment banking facility. In short, this all are the activities which can be done by the payment bank. Now let's look what all are the activities that a payment bank cannot do. First is it cannot accept fixed deposits. It can do cross selling, that is, it can give a platform to some another bank to display their own fixed deposits, but it cannot accept fixed deposits itself in its own name. So what it cannot do, it cannot accept fixed deposits. Second is, as we have discussed, since it is not in a capacity to take any kind of credit risk, it cannot issue any kind of credit cards, nor it can sanction any kind of loans. So basically you need to remember one important point, that payment bank can never give any kind of loan. Fine. Next is, it cannot handle cross-border remittances. So when you are required to transfer money from one country to another, that is known as cross-border remittances, it is not being supported by the payment bank. It cannot do the same. It cannot accept deposits from NRI, that is non-resident Indian. And last is, it cannot form subsidiary companies to carry on non-banking activities. So payment bank, as the name suggests, it is just for carrying on the banking facilities. It cannot form any subsidiary company under it to carry on any non-banking facility. They need to stick to the banking permitted facilities only. I hope I'm clear with this, what a payment bank can do and what a payment bank cannot do. Now let's look at the challenges that we have covered in the last lecture. What are the challenges that a payment bank is facing nowadays? First is, it is the payment only model. That is, it is accepting deposits only up to 1 lakh rupees. Nowadays, this amount is less compared to the earnings of the people. As a result of which, customers would like to go to the banks which are offering higher amount of deposits. That is, they can give deposits up to higher amount. So the customer base that a payment bank is having is comparatively less because of the payments only model. Because payment bank is only focusing on the payment activities, that is transferring funds from one bank to another or transferring funds from one account to another. It is facilitating the payment mechanism, but is not a deposit mechanism. As a result of which, it is facing the first challenge in form of low customer base. Second is difficulty in cross selling. As I've told you, since the number of customers with me are less, it is not favorable platform for me to offer cross selling. Suppose I am giving you an option that you can market your product at two places, either at a place who is having 1 lakh customer or at a place who is having 1 crore customer. You as a businessman, you are always going to prefer the one which is having a higher customer base. As a result of which, it is difficult to cross sell the products of different vendors also because of lack of customer base. Third is restriction on fund deployment. As I have told you, there is a fixed proportion which is set under the rules, requirements, that whatsoever you are having, you need to deposit 75% as a statutory liquidity ratio in government funds and 25% as an investment in scheduled banks. As a result of which, you are not left with anything. अगर आपके पास कोई अच्छा opportunity है, you are having some good business investment plan, but you are not having any fund. Why? Because you are already deploying your 75% in government bonds and 25% with other banks. Next challenge is, you are not lending at all. You are not ready to take any kind of credit risk. You are not granting loans. Now, what is the main income for a bank? Interest income that it is earning from the loans or the advances it is providing. Now, agar aap lend ही नहीं कर रहे हो, then you are not going to earn the interest income, right? As a result of which, the main income that should be for the bank is missing in this particular case of a payment bank. As a result of which, it is relying only on one thing, that is high volume, low margin. That is more number of transaction, payment bank is going to earn more out of that, but the amount that it is going to earn is very less. So though the transactions may be more, but the margin is going to be less. Why? Because there is no lending, that is no giving of loans, as a result of which it is not going to earn any kind of interest income. Next part is over competition. Since everyone, each and every banks are providing the services which are being offered by the payment bank, as a result of which payment bank is going to face competition from all those banks also. So again, in this particular case, there are chances of competition where you need to survive and need to maintain your customer base. And last is the legal restrictions, the legal requirement that we have seen with respect to capital, with respect to listing, with respect to FDI, with respect to leverage ratio. In all this particular scenario, it becomes difficult to manage each and everything. So this all are the challenges which are being faced by the payment bank. I would just like to request you all to take a quick overview on all the challenges that I have mentioned over here. Well, friends, I hope you are clear with the challenges. So let's move to the opportunities. What all are the opportunities for the payment bank as of now? First is market size that it is likely to capture. As we have discussed, what is the main target? It was financial inclusion, which means you need to cover each and every strata of the society. The population, as per the last data, that are unbanked. Unbanked means they are not having any kind of banking facility. In India, it is 233 million. Now, just imagine this is your target audience that you can cover up. As a result of it, this is one of the biggest opportunity to increase and expand my customer base. Second point is simplification. The operations of payment bank are very simple. Even a small child or even an aged person can easily operate and do transactions, do the transfers, remittance with the use of payment bank very easily. They are free of cost, they are more convenient, and they are easy to perform. As a result of which, the acceptability ratio of the payment bank facilities are going to definitely increase. Third is offer financial advisory. In this particular case, when I'm talking about the lower strata of the society, now they are not having more awareness with regard to how to invest their money, where to invest their money. Now, if as a payment bank, I'm having one help center in that unbanked area, and I'm providing advisory to all the population out there regarding how should they plan their investment, in which products they should invest their money. Now, if I'm helping out someone to increase their earnings, they're definitely going to trust me, and they're definitely going to join with me, and they are going to be my customers. As a result of which, I as a payment bank can offer financial advisory services to those sectors of the society where the awareness is being lacked. Third, next is bank as a platform. That is, you can be financial services provider gateway. You can be a gateway to provide every kind of innovative and technology driven banking services. Like for example, you want to transfer funds from your account to someone else's account within a fraction of second or at a blink of eye. You can do it easily with the use of using this particular platform. Suppose I am having two bank accounts, one with bank A and one with bank B, and I want to use this transaction. I, as a payment bank, can be a gateway for transacting between two banks, that is Bank A and Bank B. So what I'm doing over here is I'm providing a platform for each and every banking services to be easily operating. Next point is cross-selling beyond the financial services. That is about, about and more than any insurance services or banking services, I can even think of providing all the kind of services. It may be related to any goods, it may be related to any services, it may be related to any advisory services. Let's take an example. For example, I wish that I want to see a movie today and I want to book a ticket. Fine, there are various applications which we are using to book a movie ticket, but now it is inbuilt feature, or you can say payment bank is also providing a platform where you can directly have a tab of book a ticket. Now, what I want to say over here is I'm not sticking myself, or I'm not confining myself only to financial services. Over and about that, I can cross sell many products. Like I know I cannot accept fixed deposits, but at least I can provide a service, or I can provide or invite any bank to offer their products or offer their fixed deposits. It is possible. So I can engage myself in cross selling. Next point is platform to avail every goods and services. I have written for your easy understanding virtual mall. As we know, physical malls are the one which we visit and buy any product we wish for. But now we can buy any product just at a click. So payment banks are providing a platform so that we can purchase any product we want. Take it any electronic product, take it any sports equipment, anything you name for, and it is available at that virtual mall. So this is the added advantage that people do not want to rush physically anywhere. They can directly tap and they can directly purchase the goods or services of their willingness. And the last part is it is boon in the current situation, that is COVID-19 situation, because each and everyone wants banking on hand. They want to do the transactions without visiting any of the bank branches personally. It is but natural. And in this particular time, when we have a facility, a technology driven system of payment banking, it is going to serve as a greatest benefit in this particular pandemic era. So these all are the opportunities where payment bank can instill more and more efforts in order to earn higher and higher returns by increasing their customer share, by increasing the number of inputs or increasing the number of people who are using the services offered by the payment bank, and at the end increasing their margin. So basically, this is what can help the payment bank to actually attain the objective of financial inclusion and reaching each and every citizen of this particular nation. Let's move to the last topic for today, which is a new one. It is future of payment banks. Now I written over here, in order to succeed, payment banks need to rely on the certain principles that we are going to learn in order to predict what is going to be the future of payment banks. So basically, if it is fulfilling each and everything in the right manner, the future is definitely going to be good. But if it fails at certain juncture, then it is risky. As a result of which, for a payment bank to be successful in future, all the principles are stated, which are stated over here, are supposed to be fulfilled. So first of all, when the question comes up, future of payment bank, firstly you are going to mention in the form of challenges, like what all are the challenges which are being faced. So what we need to write in that particular answer of future, that if all these challenges are being overcome, it is like open for the payment bank to perform well. Second, we are going to discuss about the opportunities, that if payment bank captures all these opportunities, it is definitely going to feature. And third part is, if all these principles are being properly taken care of, it is going to prosper. So friends, just be clear. If the question comes up like challenges, you are going to write this particular slide. If it comes as an opportunity, you are going to write this particular slide only. But if it comes as a future of payment bank, we are going to discuss challenges briefly, we are going to discuss opportunities briefly, and then you are going to state all these principles. I hope I am clear how to write this particular question. Let's start with the first one. Leverage the traditional banking system. I've written over here, retain existing customer base and offer them new products gradually, because your existing customer is your key to success. So what they are trying to say is, you don't directly rush for finding the new customer. You need to find new customers, but at the same time, don't let your existing customers go. So the people who are using the traditional banking services, just target them also and start offering new product one by one, so that they can easily get used to the new products that you are offering. In this particular manner, what is going to take place, your existing customers will be retained, and additionally you will get the new customers from the unbanked population. So first point is, leverage what you have, that is, take the advantage of a traditional banking system. Second is, reframing and restructuring the business strategies. They should consider emerging e-commerce ecosystem. Now this is the most important point according to me. Why? Because with the changing time, we need to restructure ourselves. For example, previously I was knowing that I am going to appoint one person in my bank who is going to do the passbook updation. But with the passage of time, you all might be aware, now there are automatic machines where you just insert your passbook and it gets automatically updated by the e-commerce, I can say by digital platform. So what I want to say over here is, you should plan your frame your business strategies considering the future. Fine. Now digital is something which is going to be the future. We are going talking about 4G is all done. Now we are on the 5G part. As a result of which, we need to consider the developments in the digital part, and we should plan our strategies in that particular manner. Third is human interference. Though being digital, they should have humans at the front end spreading awareness of new products and at the help desk kiosk. As I have told you, it is good to go digital. If you are going digital, then there is less human interference. But at the same time, you need some persons who should actually be there to market your products, to spread awareness about the services that you are providing. So at the front end, as I told you, in various unbanked areas, people need consultancy, people need awareness about the products that you are offering. So you should have certain human interference, you should deploy certain skilled personnel who are good at convincing the customers and helping them out to adopt the digital technology. Next is, of course, the most important business mantra for all the businessmen out there: follow your customer. That is, you should follow your customer in the activities with respect to social, recreational, fooding, etc., and give them customized offers. What they're talking about is, for example, you are having your customer on your payment banking system, that is, he is going to transact or transfer fund. Now you need to analyze and record what is the area where he is spending majorly. For example, I am foodie and most of my expenditure is being incurred on food. Then what I can do is, I can give him certain offers that if you transact up to this much amount, you will get 10% on any of your food orders. Now what I have done is, by giving this offer, I have understood the mindset of my customer, Now, as and when my customer was doing transaction, now he'll be motivated because he's a foodie, so he's definitely going to spend for food. But now he's getting 10% additional discount, as a result of which he is going to transact more. So, as a business person, I need to follow my customer. So all these are just the principles that you need to implement in your payment banking model so that you can seize the opportunity and overcome all the challenges that we have discussed in the previous slides. Next is look at the innovations. Again, the same thing. You need to be aware about the technological know-how and the skill set, and you should adapt to what is being going on in the technological era and the present technological age, because now robots is the next future, artificial intelligence is the next future, so you need to adopt everything in your particular existing system. Sixth point is proactive approach for regulations. This basically means you should not maintain or comply to all the regulation with the fear that agar aapne nahi kiya so you are going to get penalized. No, you should going upfront to comply each and everything, that is meet regulatory milestones at a time bound manner. Their focus should be far more than mere RBI guidelines compliance. What they want to say is you should be not be having the mentality that I am following the law because if I am not going to follow the law, I am going to be penalized. No, you should be the one that you are meeting the timelines beforehandedly. You are showing a proactive approach. Proactive means कुछ आने से पहले उसके लिए ready हो जाना. Fine, that is proactive. As a result of which, when you having a proactive approach towards any regulations, then you will find comfortable to deal with the legislations and at the same time expand your business structure. Next is transformation challenge. That is, with a changing time, everything is changing at a speedy time. As a result of which, we need to adopt all the changes that are being taking place. And for that, what we need to do is we need to give training and awareness to all the stakeholders for transformation from the traditional banking systems to the modern banking business. So what I am supposed to do is when I am going to take the persons from the paper system to the digital system, I need to spread certain awareness and I need to train all my customers also and all my employees also. So I need to take this transformation challenge and give proper training and awareness to each one of them. Next is foster collaboration and alliances. It is said if you are going to fight alone, then it is not possible that you are going to conquer the entire world. As a result of which, you need to do certain business tie-ups. You need to get into certain amalgamations and mergers with certain businesses so that you can serve in a better manner to your customers. This is to serve at a minimum time, cost, and at required place. Tie up with efficient vendor and service provider. For example, I am having my registered office of payment bank at Mumbai. Now I want to provide services in a small village somewhere in Banks. Fine. Now in this particular situation, if I'll be having certain vendor who is ready to provide this service at that particular village, then my customer is going to be happy and I can target more audience and I can provide my services in a better way. So I need to do this particular research and enter into collaborations and alliances with the necessary vendors and service providers. And the last part is focus on value rather than mere cost. The service quality should be at the center, their unique feature. I should not be interested like itna kharcha ho raha hai. That is a secondary part. But I should be aiming at providing value to my customer. Because if I am going to benefit out of him, he is going to come once or twice. But if he feels that he is getting some value addition by visiting me, then he is definitely going to be engaged with me for lifetime. As a result of which, you should focus on providing value than just for providing him, just charging a cost from him. So focus on the value addition, like what you are adding or how you are easing up the life of your customer by offering your services. So basically, friends, this all are the concepts or the principles that are supposed to be implemented in the existing payment bank structure so that they can seize all the opportunities that is available and they can come out of the challenges that we have discussed in the previous slides. With this, I hope you are clear with this entire unit and this unit gets completed over here. So I, CA Pujan Kapadia, thank you all for your patient listening and definitely hope to see you soon in my next lecture for the new topic. Thank you, friends.